This is the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish, founder of Abish Financial Services.
A lot of firms out there say they will do tax planning, say they will do Social Security planning and RMD planning, and typically they just do investment management. They want your money.
You've worked hard your whole life to earn and save. Now you need a plan to make that money work hard for you.
Where do you stand today with your retirement accounts, with your insurance, with Social Security, RMDs, taxes, all of it? This is how we need to think. We need to think outside of the box on these matters.
Abe is here to help you unlock the keys to your retirement.
Can we take a moment to give a big shout out to all of the UPS, FedEx, Amazon delivery drivers that are helping us make this holiday season go round? It is that time of year, sir.
They got a busy season ahead of them. So yes, thank you very much to all of our delivery guys and gals for getting all of our packages to us on time.
Yep.
We're very much counting on you.
All of Santa's helpers, I call them.
Let me tell you, you don't want a Christmas gift coming in late. I'll tell you from experience, you don't want that happening. So thank you.
Do you care to share the details on that experience or not?
Well, I'll just tell you, for you guys out there, make sure the gifts are at the house on time and that they're properly wrapped. Okay? Can't leave it in the Amazon box and unwrapped. You gotta take some time, get good with those wrapping skills, and I'll tell you, it goes a long ways.
Lessons learned.
At least with my wife. At least with my wife.
No. On behalf of all the wives in the world, an Amazon bag is not a wrapping.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you know what? Sometimes I'll just spend a few extra dollars and get it professionally wrapped, and I'll tell you. They look pretty nice. Look pretty nice. Yeah.
It's about the presentation, not just the gift inside the box. You gotta care from start to finish.
Gift cards don't count, by the way, either. Gift cards don't count. Don't be lazy.
Like lessons of holiday past are coming up.
Coming through. That's right. Speaking from experience. Supposed to be getting wiser and wiser every year, Heather.
Heard it here first.
Go further into our marriages, you know?
Yep, I do know, and I'm sure that my husband would be nodding in agreement right there alongside you if he were here with us to share his version of the stories. Of that, we're not going to get into. But since we have been on the subject of Amazon, besides all the money that is being spent through Amazon, I was looking at some of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday predicted spending habits of this year in the billions of dollars. It's incredible that despite all the economic turmoil, despite inflation, we are ready to spend our money. And what's interesting was hearing Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' perspective on what he thinks about everything that again, has been happening in the economy. And he was saying, and has been saying for some time, that we need to be battening down the hatches, and was telling CNN Business that he fears a recession is coming.
The probabilities say if we're not in a recession right now, we're likely to be in one very soon. So my advice to people is take some risk off the table. If you were going to make a purchase, maybe slow down that purchase a little bit. Keep some dry powder on hand. Have some cash on hand. Just a little bit of risk reduction. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
The founder of Amazon is telling us to rethink our spending habits, Abe. So how are you helping your clients prepare for the worst, hope for the best when it comes to their own retirement plans?
Heather, I think you might be listening to our show.
Okay,
right?
Got it, yeah.
I don't know. He says a lot of what I feel like we've been saying all of 2022, which is, man, let's be cautiously optimistic, but for goodness sakes, the markets are down. The markets are not up. The markets are down 15, 20%. And this is real money, real dollars, real life savings that people have lost. And this recession that we believe we're in hasn't officially been declared a recession yet. We believe, as Bezos does, that we're likely in a recession. So let's be prepared. Let's be proactive. There's a ton that we can't control, but we want to focus on what we can control. Yeah. And so let me tell you about a gentleman who just called into our show. He used to live in the Maryland area and now lives both in Maryland, and Florida at the same time.
Okay. And
he's in his late 70s, fully retired. He's got about $2 million saved. So living real comfortably between, the DC area and Florida. $2 million save. He's a moderate investor, 5 on our risk scale, just middle of the road. Doesn't want to take on too much risk, but is able to take on some. Also wants to make sure that a good bit of his life saving is protected from huge downturns and huge losses in the market. And he called into the show, just kind of concerned with things going on in the environment, the economy, the markets. And good thing he did, because when we did the analysis on all of his holdings, he's got all of his money at Ameriprise, and nothing wrong with Ameriprise, but he's got 88% of all of his life savings in stocks. And he's in his late 70s. And so the first thing I said is when we did the analysis and we found out how he was invested and how much risk he was taking, I think he knew he was taking on more risk than he should have been, but I don't think he knew to what extent, how much. I mean, almost 90% of his life savings is in individual stocks, which is probably much more appropriate for someone that's 40,
right,
45, 50, maybe 55 years old, but typically even a 55-year-old is looking at retiring within a 10-year horizon. Right. So to have 90% of your money in stocks, man, that works really well when the markets are up 20 to 30%. Doesn't work too well when the markets are down 15, 20%, right? So the first thing I recommended, we've got to start de-risking your portfolio because number one, you have won the game. You have more than enough money that you need, right? You're paying all your bills. You have a surplus. You have a positive monthly cash flow. You have more money than you'll ever spend over the course of your life, and you'll be able to pass on a substantial amount of money to your family and your loved ones. Why are you taking on this much risk? You're telling me you want to be a 5. You're invested as if you're an 8.8. We have got to start de-risking, not going to the sidelines. We want to stay invested, but let's bring this risk back so we're not taking on any extra risk than necessary. So the solution was to do just that. De-risk the plan, bring the equity exposure down, stay invested, but bring the risk down. Use a combination of safe money tools, buffered solutions, and market exposure. And so for anyone listening right now, if you sound like this gentleman and you've just realized that, yeah, you know what, I'm taking on way more risk than I should be. I've got way more money in stocks right now than I should. And I did well when the markets are up. And man, this year's caught me off guard and I've been meaning to do something about it. Take action. You know, in this DC metro area, most people have more than enough money saved. So if that's you and you feel you've won the game and you have more than enough saved, don't risk it any more than you need to, right? We certainly don't want this to go backwards on us another 10, 15, 20% and be in a negative 30 or negative 40% hole. Looking back at history, that typically takes the average American, you know, about 5 years to climb out of, and that's not what we want to do. So anyone listening right now, we want to offer you that same portfolio x-ray and recession-proofing analysis to see if we can potentially recession-proof your retirement plan, your life savings. Test out your portfolio and see how it will likely do in a recession, in a continued downturn. How much risk are you taking? What are the costs? How are you allocated? Is this right for you? Is the way you're invested right now right for you for this next season of your life? So if you're listening right now, you're 55 years and older, if you've saved $500,000 or more for your retirement, go to retirementkeyradio.com. Click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin to have these same conversations with you as well.
Abe, thinking about risk, so many of us do associate that with market risk. However, a lot of people would agree when I say, if you don't have a tax plan, you've got a big risk bubble all around your money right there within and of itself. And it's interesting with everything that's been going on right here in Washington now, Forbes is saying that this is actually a perfect time for some, quote, aggressive tax planning. So what does that mean, and why is it a good time to be doing it, and how can you help us do it?
So aggressive tax planning, you know, I don't know necessarily what aggressive tax planning is, you know, Heather, but what I would say is we really need to seriously consider implementing a tax plan in our retirement plan. You see, why most people come to us, Heather, is because they have an investment plan. They have a big bucket of money. It's typically several $1 million that they'll come to us with, sometimes more, sometimes less. But the point is, most people have done enough. Most people have saved enough. They have enough money to retire. They have an investment plan. They have a big bucket of money. They're asset rich, income poor. They certainly don't have a tax plan mixed into the retirement plan. But then when you look at someone's holdings and all of their life savings, I'm thinking about a couple that just came in with $1 million. The entire $1 million is in IRAs, TSPs, 401ks, and pre-taxed accounts because they were told at the beginning of their career, max out your accounts because in retirement, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. Well, that's exactly what they did. By the way, I think that's a huge myth for a lot of people. And because they bought into that myth, and now they're not necessarily in a lower tax bracket, the entire $1 million that they've saved is in pre-taxed accounts, which could end up being a ticking tax time bomb if taxes go up. So what I did is I showed them the history of our country's tax rates, and I've showed them how over the last about a decade, how our national debt as a country has increased. It's gone from, I think it was $6 trillion in 2008 to, I think it was in between 10 and 15 trillion by 2012. And in the last 10 years, it was around 15 trillion. And from 2012 to this year, 2022, it has doubled, more than doubled. And our U.S. national debt is sitting at $31 trillion in national debt. When you hear that, I mean, that's an alarming number.
Yeah.
And when most people hear that, most people, surveyed and polled believe that taxes are going to go up. So if that's the case and taxes do go up and you believe you're at a fair tax rate and fair tax bracket right now, shouldn't we be looking at ways to lower and mitigate tax right now? And so we had a couple call into the show. They live in North Carolina. They used to live in Northern Virginia. This was them. They had $1 million all in pre-tax accounts, concerned with taxes going up in the future. Mm-hmm. We ran a tax mapping report and analysis for them and found out that right now they're at about a 10% net effective rate after all their deductions. Wow, that's extremely fair. They're keeping 90 cents of every dollar they bring into the household. They're paying about 10% out to the state and the IRS. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if you're at a 10% net effective rate, does it make sense to pay any more tax this year on purpose by shifting and moving dollars from our pre-taxed accounts into tax-free buckets like Roth IRAs? They agreed, and what we found out is that they should be able to convert and shift about $100,000 a year from their pre-taxed accounts into Roth IRAs, saving them about $8,000 to $16,000 of tax over the next 4 years. Hey,
nice.
That's not a ton of money, but it is probably going to be about around $8,000 to $16,000 that is now back in their portfolio instead of the hands of the state or the IRS. Okay? And I think anyone would want to follow through with that plan if it made sense for them. So if you're listening right now and you're concerned with taxes on your pre-taxed accounts, you're concerned and looking for ways to lower taxes as much as possible on your life savings, where are you in the brackets? What is your net effective rate? Should we consider tax planning for you? We want to explore that with you. So if you're listening right now and this sounds a little bit like your own situation, go to retirementkeyradio.com, click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin to have these same conversations with you as well.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish. To learn more about Abish Financial Services, visit retirementkeyradio.com. And join Abe for his radio show, The Retirement Key, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m. on WMAL.
Investment advisory services offered through Abish Financial Wealth Management, LLC, number 310633, a registered investment advisor firm. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Abraham Abish is licensed in your state, please call 571-577-9968. Abish Financial Services is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Abraham Abish, Inc., Virginia license number 131017.